Advances have been made towards the recognition of women's political, economic, and social equality. Despite that, women in Kenya continued to be marginalized and subjected to many injustices and inequalities at all levels of society. Increased awareness of their rights to representation led them to claim their democratic space and gender parity, which they had been deprived of for many years. The 2010 Constitution introduced the two-third gender rule to enhance parity at both lower and national legislative bodies. A number of women in positions such as parliamentarians, civil society, grassroots women leaders, academia and media played vital roles in contributing to constitution making and also voicing the women's agenda. As a result, a number of them participated in different contexts, such as Honorable Martha Karua, Honorable Phoebe Asiyo, Dr. Nancy Baraza, Eda Gashokia, Professor Anjiko Kabira, Ida Odinga, Kamla Sikand, Honorable Professor Julia Ojiambo, and Ali Siano, among many others. In this series, we shall focus on Honorable Martha Karua and Honorable Phoebe Asiyo as our two pathfinders. Honorable Phoebe Asiyo is one of the most respected and influential women leaders in Kenya. She is a former member of parliament for Karachuonyo constituency, that is from 1979 to 1983 and 1992 to 1997. She was the first African chairperson for Maendeleo ya Wanawake organization, the largest grassroots women organization in Kenya. She was also an ambassador to the United Nations Development Fund for Women, that is UNIFEM, and the author of the book, It's Possible. After her retirement from active politics in 1997, she was appointed as a commissioner to the now defunct Constitution of Kenya Review Commission, that is CKRC.
We started talking politics. Jomo Kenyatta was in detention, and at that time many men were going to see him in detention and discussing the future of our nation with him, and no women went. But we tried and were able to send one woman to Lancaster House, Priscilla Bwao, who was nominated member of parliament. We raised some money, but also got some help from men like Mboya And she came back with a lot of good information about the discussions at Lancaster House. And we began to feel like we were getting there, because now in Britain, there was a woman's voice. And we gave Priscilla a lot of information on what, although there were KADU, there were only two political parties. There was KADU and KANU. I was in KANU, and there were others. Priscilla was in KADU. But it was the women, the issues of women that concerned us most. So we converged at that stage, KADU and KANU, and drafted an agenda for Lancaster House meetings. Later on, we asked the Chief Native Commissioner, his name was Atkins, to allow us to also go and meet with Kenyatta in detention to discuss with Kenyatta the role that women would play it was obvious he was going to be the president of this nation. And we wanted ahead of time for us to know, for him to know our concerns, and we wanted to convince him to give space to women in leadership, also in governance. I was elected in 1979, but there was a petition soon after that, and 8 months later I was kicked out of parliament. But they did not disqualify me from contesting the seat again.
Honorable Martha Karua is a social justice advocate and politics and governance expert with a career of over 30 years rooted in law and spanning across social activism, judicial, constitutional, and political arenas. The role of women in Kenyan politics has greatly benefited from Honorable Martha Karua's efforts and exemplary career. She is a founder of organizations such as the League of Kenya Women Voters and the leading women's advocacy organization, the Federation of Women Lawyers, that is, FIDA. Throughout her prestigious career, Honorable Martha Karua actively lobbied for the increased representation of women in political positions. Her 20-year career in public service saw her serve as the Member of Parliament for Geshugu constituency, as Minister for Water and Public Works, and Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, under whom Kenya promulgated the new constitution. She is also a founder of a political party, the National Rainbow Coalition, that is, NARC Kenya. The year 1991 was a turning point for Kenya's political history. This is the year that Section 2A of the former constitution was repealed to return the country to multi-party politics. It also marked the beginning of Honorable Martha Karua's active political career.
When the country returned to multi-party democracy in December of 1991, it was only a natural progression that I get interested in political office, and I sought to vie for the Geshugu parliamentary seat. And that's how my political career began. And it was difficult in the sense that although people knew I was an activist, a pro-democracy, pro-human rights activist, and they took me seriously in that work together with other colleagues. My bid was not being taken seriously because I was being told that Central doesn't elect women.
Women faced inequalities in various settings across societies on the basis of gender.
Our leaders were truly not convinced that we needed to be where they were in terms of formulating policies for our nation. Many times they said, but you know, you belong to the kitchen. This is the one word I've heard over the years. You belong to the kitchen. What makes you feel that you want to come and join the men when the men are doing such superb work, taking care of you people and providing legislation and laws that will protect you, the women, the children, and the men. And what is your problem? Why do you really want to upset the status quo?
In their journey to claim their social, economic, and political rights, these women carried on despite the challenges they were facing, and they did not give up in pursuit of what they were looking for. As young women, we need to take up the challenge and never give up on our dream of women economic empowerment.
I was determined not just to make my name known. It was already known. I was a household name in Kenya even then. I told them I'm there to get elected. I campaigned the whole of 1992 up to the end of the year when the elections were held, and I emerged victorious.
Elections came next time. I was now elected without any problem, and there was no petition.
Despite facing gender-based violence and insults, both Honorable Martha Karua and Honorable Phoebe Asiyo braved on and were elected for 20 years and 10 years respectively. As young women, we need to keep on keeping on because obstacles and challenges will always be there, but this should not stop our pursuit for a more politically and economically equitable Kenya.
I had to endure gender-based insults, violence, but I persisted, and we carried the day.
It was a very violent campaign. Many people were hurt. I was also hurt. Many of my supporters were hurt.
And from then on, having worked for my people in a satisfactory manner, I suppose, because being re-elected is a vote of confidence. I was re-elected 3 other times, in succession. So for 20 years, I was the member of parliament for Gishogo.
The people got to know me for who I was and really supported me. They worked with me very, very closely, and we were able to win 4 times. Then I retired.
Women should hold hands and work together as this empowers us and helps create an environment that we feel safe in to ensure we meet our goals. Both Honorable Martha Karua and Honorable Phoebe Asiyo were active in pushing for the women's agenda and worked with various women and grassroots networks in the pursuit of gender equality, as they narrate.
In the beginning, it was very hard for women to be appointed in the commission that reviewed the new constitution for this country. Fortunately, Martha Karua was very forceful and helpful, and she chaired a committee that selected women, that interviewed and selected women to be appointed to the commission that made the new constitution. And in the beginning we had two commissions, one by the Ufungamano, the faith-based, and then the other one by parliament. Eventually we came into one under Professor Guy, and we worked very well. What amazed me was when we went to collect views from Kenyan people, the women articulated the issues very well. I know that the women's movements had prepared women to do this, but it is because of where they were coming from, where they were, the conditions under which they lived, that they really expressed the need for a constitution that would be friendly to women, to the infirm, to the disabled, and children. They did that even more than the professional men who gave us their views.
In May of 1992, we formed the League of Kenya Women Voters, the first ever political lobby group in Kenya, because all the other women's organizations at that time were quick to explain that they were not political, they were just for women's welfare. But the League was formed as an avowed women's political lobby. And we advocated for women getting elected, women's getting space in the political arena, in leadership and in decision making. And we started going to the grassroots to discuss these issues with women. And very quickly, there were many other organizations, especially led by Dr. Wanjiku Kabera, by Professor Maria Nzomo, which now also started preparing women for politics. And very soon, even the women's organizations that had denounced political inclination, they soon joined. And together, even after the 1998 elections, we continued advocating for women's space in politics. We joined hands together in 1997, forming the Women's Political Caucus, which was a caucus of all the women organizations. It was unregistered, but it was a powerful caucus that saw the women's voice solidified during the IPPG talks. And although I was the only woman in the Constitutional and Legal Committee of IPPG, working with the women outside Parliament and with one voice, we were able to get amendments to the Constitution to outlaw discrimination on basis of gender or sex, as was expressed in the Constitution then. We were also able to get a second amendment, which shared out all nominated seats, the 12 in Parliament and the many in the local authorities, equally between men and women. The specific provision was that there will be gender parity in nominations. Parity is equality.
As we can see, the work that our Pathfinders did and continue to do span through different generations. As young women, we have to continue demanding for the full implementation and compliance of the 2010 Constitution. This means that we have a real opportunity to participate at all governance levels, ensuring that the different programs of the counties contribute to our social and economic development that is relevant to our day-to-day lives.